Good stuff, Ian. Guys, let's get into what college football, the sport. I guess most of us love to bet, possibly the most. But guys, let's just go around the horn. Maybe team to bet on, team to fade. Big man, you want to start us off in the college football level?
Yeah, I'll go team to fade. A team that I feel is possibly the most disappointing team from a betting perspective and from an overall team perspective. Miami of Ohio. I mean, I was under the impression, and I know Donnie and we all talked about this. I thought they were really a sleeper to win this conference, the way they played last year. But this team has been dreadful. 1-6 against the spread. They've lost 4 or 5 overall, and they're 0-5 as a favorite. And I see they're listed as a favorite again this week. The truth of the matter is Billy Ball is just not any good. I mean, 2 games, a 43.5 completion percentage. They've had trouble running the football as well with Alonzo Martin. They just really haven't gotten that going either. They kind of remind me of Temple a little bit. They've just really had trouble getting anything going at all. Their defense has been average. And, Drew, I had an issue with their scheduling this year. I mean, I get if you want to play Notre Dame, but why are you scheduling that in the kind of right at the beginning, in the middle of your conference schedule? You play Central Michigan, get a win there, and you're thinking, okay, we're 2-2 now. Let's attack the schedule. Oh no, we're going to schedule Notre Dame on the road right before we get into our whole conference season. You get crushed 52-17. And they've just lost 3 in a row. It was just a bad idea. I don't understand it. Instead of playing Austin Peay, you should have went out and played Notre Dame, got that out of the way. Maybe you start 0-2, but you get 2 wins there. Your season's a lot different. I don't like that decision to schedule that game. It didn't make a lot of sense to me right at that point. And it just overall, they've been very poor, very disappointing team. Can they go and win 6 games? Or no, not 4. They need 4 games to get a bowl game. They get a game against Ohio. They get Eastern Michigan. Akron is playing really well. Buffalo's been an upstart team. I don't see a bowl future for a team that I thought had the ability to win this division and conference. Team to back, I'm going to go kind of obscure here. The Marshall Thundering Herd. I've liked what I've seen out of this team, especially in a conference that's really up for grabs right now. You have teams really kind of, La Tech has struggled. West Kentucky struggled. Middle Tennessee's without Brett Stockstill again this week. They're 5-1 against the spread, guys, and their only loss was to NC State. Nothing bad there. Chase Litton's been really good. Keon Davis, the running back, and I like Doc Holliday's thought process coming into the season. They didn't have a good year last year. He went out and kind of fulfilled that defense with junior college transfers. Kids got older. You guys remember that defense last year. They were a sieve. They're top 40 in both pass defense and rush defense. They've improved significantly, and they're on top of Conference USA. Right now, if you ask me, the Marshall Thundering Herd are probably my pick to win that conference. I like what I've seen from this team. They got a game against Middle Tennessee. Don't have to see Stockstill. I really like this upstart Marshall team right now.
Great insight, big man. You bring up Miami of Ohio. No fucking way they're making a bowl. Look at them. Buffalo. I can't believe that they're favored in that game. I bet Buffalo pretty big.
It's the only reason they're favored in that one, though, Drew, be careful, because Buffalo is down to their 3rd string quarterback going on the road.
But I've heard that the least couple weeks with Buffalo, and they keep hanging around.
No. Buffalo's backup quarterback.
Buffalo could play some D. Buffalo could play some D as well. They're very good on that side so far.
Starter's very good, very athletic. That 6'7" kid gets knocked out, but the backup there actually had like a 10-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's out. Now they got some kid like Van Treese that's going to make the start. So I know that 69% of the tickets early coming in on Buffalo. That's one of the reasons why it's still a little bit lower, because again, we're talking MAC football. When you get down to your 3rd string at Alabama, he's probably still a 4-star recruit. 3rd stringer at Buffalo, probably that guy who is like a backup quarterback somewhere like Massillon, Ohio, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point by Donnie. You see a way more drop off 1st string to 3rd string QB in the MAC, Sun Belt, etc., than you do SEC.
But here's the problem. Billy Ball's terrible.
He's not good. No, you're right.
And they're 0-5 as a favorite. I'm not saying I'd bet Buffalo. I'm making the point that Miami of Ohio just sucks. But Buffalo's a team that's hanging around. If they have that quarterback in that game, they probably beat Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois just kind of sat on their hands for the rest of that game and were able to escape with a win. But yeah, it's an interesting group. You make a point. The 3rd string quarterback on a MAC team is not going to be very good a lot of the time. But I got to tell you, this Miami of Ohio team just hasn't been very good either. And 0-5 is a favorite. It's hard to back and lay points at them this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, Marshall's definitely a team I got my eye on for sure.
No, good point, Donnie. I mean, I actually was researching it pretty much, and Tyree Jackson and Drew Anderson, they're both questionable, and he went out with
I
shoulder.
think they're both listed as out for this game, I believe, because I actually have the Kyle Van Treese is probable to start in this one.
Yeah, the Van Treese kid, he's a true freshman.
Anderson's really good, because I bet the FAU game, Drew, a little while ago, and at halftime, when Jackson went out just before the half, I'm like, my bet's shot. This kid came in and balled out, and they have three really – actually, it's kind of funny. Jonathan Hawkins is their best running back coming into the football season, one of the better running backs in the MAC. He hasn't played since like week 2, but they have three really good running backs there, so they're going to lean on the running game in this one. If Anderson was ready to go in this football game, Drew, they blow Miami of Ohio off the map because that offense is really good when he's in.
Donnie,
I just don't know what I'm going to get from him there.
You would agree, and shame on you, Donnie. You should know that the MAC injury reports aren't always truthful. I think we should just wait on that a little bit, don't you think?
No, I don't. It's very rare when you
wasn't
actually
horrible. I mean, he threw a bad interception, which hurt. But I mean, you and I.
Anderson's
both know,
good.
Donnie,
Anderson's a really good guy. But yeah, no, I'm not betting. I can't bet on the road a third string quarterback in any situation. So
it's hard to find good info for injuries in college football. But my best advice is in 4 words: find your beat writer. Find your beat writer of these.
And even in the MAC, they can't even do it. The MAC is the MAC is like the Bill Belichick of college football. I mean, they're just straight up cheaters. I mean,
they don't
talk about going into a football game with your best player who by the kickoff, because I know a couple people who call those games and they go into the meeting on Thursday or Friday before that game and they ask the guy, like, hey, I'm going to call the game Saturday. What can I look forward to? And they usually back in the day, hey, look, Gus Radley's a little bit banged up. He's probably not going to start. We'll let you key that in so you can tee it up and do some real research on the backup quarterback. I've seen games where they call out, hey, heading out to the field, we're going to have Gus Ragland and the Miami Ohio Redhawks here. It looks like Gus isn't in uniform right now, folks. Yeah, I mean, they're straight up cheaters in the MAC.
The Conference USA and MAC are bad with injuries. I mean, the key contributor to that is Frank Solich. He's public enemy number 1.
He's
with
awful.
that.
He's right.
He's terrible with that. He doesn't list anyone. Every week, everyone's questionable. You have no idea. They're offenders with that every week, Ohio. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's some good beat writers out there, but like a team like Buffalo, I've had a lot of trouble finding a beat writer for that group. I mean, you find them from Middle Tennessee or whoever, and Old Dominion has a really good one. Harry Minium. There's some really good ones out there, but a team like Buffalo. I mean, you go on like the Buffalo news sites. I mean, they don't talk about Buffalo football, and if they do,
no, you're right about that, Jeff. Like Bowling Green has 2 really good beat writers that get right back to you. They're at their press conference, and then you just type in like Central Michigan or type in anybody else in the MAC, and it just comes up like a dead line. Like you have no idea what's going on there, or if anybody even cares.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off with some of them is like they'll be the beat writer for the small college, and they also do the local high school. So most of their tweets are about high school football.
Yeah, and Drew, good point. You're on Twitter the next year. That guy who was a beat writer for like Middle Tennessee State, which was Aldo Amato last year. I'm saying, where are all my MTSU
Aldo
beat
Amato
writers?
does basketball.
Yeah, he does soccer now too. I'm like, what the hell just happened here? Like, they change so frequently at that level.
And that's the problem with the kids that are good. Like Aldo Amato, like I heard him last year. He was great. He's on VSiN. He's doing all these big things, and then you see him, he's like, gets a better job, and it's like, it's like anything. If you're good at something, someone's going to see and they're going to pluck you, and the truth of the matter is you have to look at who the hell the beat writer is, because it could be just some fanboy that has a website about Northern Illinois football and he loves Northern Illinois. So you definitely have to know that you're getting correct information. But yeah, beat writers are important. Some of them you just don't have Something you just don't have.
Don't even have a beat writer. Yeah, exactly.
No, and good point, Donnie, with the quarterback situation at Buffalo. And I went back, and I think you said Kyle Van Treese, like some kid from Ohio. He actually is from Ohio. And when I was looking at his highlight tape from high school, because he is a true freshman. So when we talk about the third string being bad in the MAC, it's true. But it kind of gives me a thought of a week of practice with the starters. He is a true freshman. He has like red hair, that type of kid. Didn't see it's pretty much like a private school in Ohio.
Andy Dalton out there. Yeah, and the problem with that also is, Drew, you have to look for, I mean, you never know who's going to get hurt. If you have a first or second stringer, you have somebody ready to go. Now, let's just say he comes into the game and they're going to try to protect him and shorten the playbook, but he gets hurt on his shoulder. Now you're just going to run like the Wildcat the rest of the football game, which, again, I've seen it in the MAC. It's not the worst option in the world to just have some freak offense in the MAC and just say, hey, we don't have any quarterbacks, so we're not going to throw, and they still steamroll for like 400 yards of total offense.
Yeah, no, good stuff there, guys. And Jeff, great tee up there with your insight. What, Ian, you want to go next as far as bet on or fade teams?
Yeah, I got 2 bet on Virginia. I like this team. We really like this team. Was able to cash in with them last week against North Kakalaki. Don't be fooled by the final score. They outgained North Carolina by almost 200 yards. Should have been a more lopsided score than it was. But Kurt Benkert is a quarterback that's given this team confidence. Their defense has played much better and better as the season's gone on. Let's not forget, they destroyed and drilled Boise State a few weeks ago on the blue turf, and we just saw what Boise did in stunning form to San Diego State. So they've had some good wins. They're getting better week by week. I think they're on a 4-0 ATS run going into this week, and I think they continue it this week. I'll be looking to bet on Virginia. I'll also be looking to bet on, and some of this money that's moved this line is mine, North Texas, the Mean Green. They keep on just getting the job done. Mason Fine is a fine quarterback so far. He's played well for this team. Seth Luttrell in year 2 of this program as head coach has done a good job. But this defense is a lot better than it's been in years past. They've also already been toughened by some pretty tough games on their schedule this season. I know Florida Atlantic with Lane Kiffin and company starting to get their ship righted after a little bit of a rocky start to their season. No question, it's a talented group. They bring in the delinquents, but they're talented delinquents that the Florida Atlantic's got. However, North Texas has been fantastic in the underdog role. They've covered some numbers. The only time they didn't was against SMU in a game that the yardage was even. Turnovers did them in. So North Texas is a bet on spot for me. Fade team is Louisville. I mean, that's a just despicable loss last week for them against Boston College. Not good whatsoever. What were they, 20-point favorites, something like that? They lose that game. And now they're a team that I think going into Florida State, confidence is waning. Shot a little bit. They lost to NC State before that. Didn't really play that well in that game. It's a one-man show. Lamar Jackson and nothing else. A subpar offensive line, decent skill position talent, but defense that has completely fallen apart on hard times. Nowhere near the Louisville defense that we expect from them, certainly last year or previous years under Petrino. I don't like the body language from this team. Something bad happens to them. They're not getting a good response whatsoever. So looking to fade Louisville moving forward as well.
That's a great point by you on that North Texas FAU game. That's going to be a good game. I mean, those are 2 upstart teams. And you wonder about FAU. I mean, you beat Bethune-Cookman, big deal. You beat MTSU without Stockstill, Old Dominion, Old Dominion may have the worst passing offense in the country. I mean, LaRussa is lost at quarterback there. You got to feel bad for Bobby Wilder's crew. But North Texas is a real opportunity here to go on the road, beat an upstart team. They're looking like another team in Conference you want to keep your eye on. Luttrell's done a great job there. I mean, really impressive. I mean, you remember a couple years ago, guys, they lost to Portland State by 60 at home. This was a bad football team for a couple years. They get that bowl game last year. They're rolling. I like what I've seen from North Texas. Good call.
Ian, are you laying 7 with Virginia?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't trust Boston College off that win that they had last week against Louisville. Everyone says, oh, maybe Boston College is back on track. No. You just beat an overrated, overhyped, overvalued team from day one this season, Louisville. And I like what I'm seeing from Virginia. And they've been on a good run point spread-wise. And I've cashed a couple times with Virginia now. The Boise State game last week against North Carolina. I don't mind when I've got a couple units in the bank riding a team. I don't mind pushing for one more unit the next week with that team, and I'm going to do that with Virginia on Saturday.
All right, good stuff, Ian. And Donnie, what about you? Anything else to add college football-wise?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick there. I have a bet on team and a fade team there. But getting back to that North Texas point, Mason Fine's a really good quarterback. Guyton was supposed to be heading towards Notre Dame, went to a junior college and ends up there at North Texas. That's a great combination, Guyton and Fine. The one thing it's going to be a little bit interesting. I saw somebody bring that up there. And I'm going to tie it into my buy on team, which is FAU right now. FAU is coming off the bye. They're going to be rested and ready. They do play good football at home. But getting back to North Texas, Fine took You want to talk about a quarterback who comes to play. If you go pop on that tape to watch UTSA, who has one of the best front sevens outside of the Power 5 conferences, they beat the living shit out of him in that football game, and he just kept coming back, kept
coming back and firing. I saw parts of that game.
Unbelievable, man. 98-yard drive to end that game. They almost killed him, Ian, on the last pass of the game, and he stood in there and delivered that touchdown pass. So that kid's got some moxie back there. I just wish they would speed it because it's 66 at the over-under. I would love to take the total and take the over, but getting out of that little value range, if that was going to pop up in maybe like a 60.5, 61, I would look towards the over, but I do think there are some points there. But getting back to the original point, FAU is going to be a buy-on team for me. Coming off the bye here, if you look, I mean, they got roasted versus Navy opening night. Jeff calls them the land of misfits toys, and it's going to take them a while to gel, but I think they're actually getting it together a little bit. You know, they lost to Wisconsin, which is no harm, no foul in that game, but look at their ground game, and I know it's Bethune-Cookman, but anytime an FAU offense is going to rack up 439 on the ground, 262 versus a pretty good Buffalo team, 252 versus Middle Tennessee State, and 453 yards on the ground versus Old Dominion. This is a Lane Kiffin offense that would rather, throw the football all over the sandlot, but they have three really good running backs that they're using here. It'll be interesting. They're rested and ready, and as I said last week, that North Texas game, I think it was a huge win for North Texas. Great moxie win, but I think a lot of it got taken out of that game just to how physical the UTSA front seven will be, so I want to look forward to that game. Fade team to me, and I think we can all agree at this point. I don't know what you're doing as a Kansas Jayhawk at this point. If you just look at their schedule and go down there, I mean, you want to take steps. You're not a great football team as it is, but you want to take steps and be competitive. You're going to lose to Ohio. You're going to lose to Central Michigan, who we look at right now is not even a very good football team yet in the MAC. You get hammered by West Virginia, hammered by Texas Tech, and say, okay, now we're going to finally take a step down to one of those underlying teams here. We're going to get out. We're going to play Iowa State 45-0. Get beat. Not only did you get beat, that's not even the worst part about it. They're a hurry-up offense. So you're factoring in they're getting anywhere between 65 to 85 plays a game. 62 yards on the ground and 44 yards from the air. You didn't just play Alabama. You played Iowa State and got thumped that bad. Lower here in Kansas. That's got to be a fade team for me heading down the stretch.
Hey, Donnie. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Donnie, to answer your question, I know what you're doing as a Kansas Jayhawk football player. I know exactly what you're doing. You chose the wrong sport. You should be going there for basketball, not football.
Maybe the football players in at halftime are trying to get in and get their season tickets for basketball. I don't know what you look forward to as Kansas. Like, if you walk around that campus and you got the hoodie on, yeah, man, I play football here, and they're like, what? Like, why would you even say that?
But you have to look at Kansas and ask yourself, they're the only Power 5 program that struggles this mightily in football. I mean, it's amazing how they just are awful every year, but they keep giving David Beatty pay raises. I mean, this guy's won 2 games in 2 years. I mean, you look at Duke, a basketball school, Kentucky, anyone. They all have competent football programs that'll go to bowl games. Kansas just continues to wallow in despair. It's amazing. Donnie, I got to ask you, I got 2 questions on North Texas. Yeah. FAU's been a good point by you, a great run offense. Concern I have, though, North Texas is a pretty good, damn good run defense as well. And I wonder, Florida Atlantic is lucked out with 7 turnovers over the last 2 weeks. You had 2 quarterbacks that were really lost without a paddle. Ursua and LaRussa, 2 good paisans there. Mason Fine, a little different story. And Jeffrey Wilson has ran the ball well also. I got to kind of look at an over in this game. I think we see.
No, I like where you're going here, Jeff, because I'm on the same wavelength there. Because when you look at what North Texas presents, and Lane Kiffin offense is going to score points. Turnovers, not turnovers. What do you got? 58, 38, 31. 45. And again, I'd like to throw Wisconsin out because that's just too much of a step up in competition earlier. But you're right. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause, though, Jeff, because I watch a lot of UNT, I watch a lot of UTSA. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause is they're not the fastest offense, but I do want to watch more of FAU to see if they can actually push the tempo, because UTSA last week was fine playing that sort of game where, okay, we know you have a good offense. Here comes a 11-play, 8-minute drive that's going to end with a field goal, which we all know would kill a 66 almost automatically in that spot. And without 3 missed extra points, they still go over the total. I need to see if North Texas can be pushed, because the one thing that's true is UTSA's front 7 buried fine. I don't think FAU is going to be able to do that to him. And if he has any time back there in the pocket, everybody's wide open. Watch Guyton. He's an unbelievable wide receiver. You're right. The 3-headed combo. When you want to hit an over in college football, give me a running back that averages 6 yards a carry. Check. Give me the big-time home run hitting wideout. Check. Give me the quarterback that's mobile and has a good arm and can run the offense. Check. UNT hits those boxes, Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? If everyone's wondering why we're talking this game so much, this is one of the best non-Power 5 games going this Saturday. I'm excited to watch this game. We're not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs talking about this game so much. We really are not. We're all excited for it. I am, for sure.
And I hear a lot of points back in the Mean Green. Donnie, are you actually are you betting them this week?
No, I'm trying to I'm on the case more for Florida Atlantic. I just think, like, again, if we just switched venues here again, if we took this game and they were playing in Denton as opposed to playing in South Florida, I would be all over the Mean Green. They have a nice little home environment. They get really good support from their students, and that nice win last week versus UTSA, but heading down to South Florida again. Lane Kiffin's coming off a bye. I think they're going to have a little bit extra jump in their step. I think they win this football game, but I wish the point spread for the total was 62, 61.5. I would be all over the over. That 66 range just gives me a little bit of pause, especially since I saw last week where UNT is not exactly in a hurry to get their offense going. I need to see if FAU can actually push the tempo on them.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. We just got to change the tune here real quick to a game that's not going to be a great game, or at least I guess.
Are you talking about the degenerate special here, Drew?
Yes, we own the degenerate. We should sell $49 a week
on that. West Kentucky pound Charlotte, another winner there. These have been good games. I've actually we've done well on these.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. Been bringing up Charlotte. Damn, that team is going down the shitter. But anyway, guys, let's talk about two teams that are 1-13 against the spread combined. We got BYU versus ECU. Last year, 45-38, a barn burner. Not sure if that's going to happen this year. Looks like we got a total of 54.5, bought up to 58, so some over money. But how are we going this week in the degenerate special? Big man, start us off. BYU ECU.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm actually going to do this, but I'm actually looking at the underdog in this game. I think the general consensus I found this week with a lot of games, and I talked about it with Donnie on the closing line, there's a lot of offenses that can't really exploit the defenses, and I'm not sure that BYU can really exploit anyone. I mean, their passing game is dreadful. Squally Canada, like, I don't know where he's been. I just haven't seen him lately on BYU. He didn't even play in the other game. He's not been listed on the injury report. It's kind of odd that they've put out. I don't get it. ECU's bad. We all know that. They're 1-6 ATS, but I mean, BYU's 128th in the country in total offense. They've scored more than 20 points just one time. And I'm just not sure they can exploit ECU. I think this game is close. I think these are teams that are really similar as far as the level of good player on their team. I like Thomas Sirk. I think if you could say one thing about ECU, they could bomb away on offense. I just think they outscore BYU here. I don't trust their offense. I don't trust anything they do. Now you got to travel across the country in a season that's, I mean, at this point, I mean, what are you really doing at this point? Now I got to go on the road again to the East Coast after getting thrashed by Mississippi State. I don't know what they did. I have to look into their travel schedule. Did they just stay on the East Coast? This is a 1-6 football team going nowhere. Now you got to play a game against East Carolina. East Carolina is going to be up for this game. This is a decent program, BYU, over the years. They're going to be excited about it. I just don't see a BYU team going anywhere. I don't lay points with them, and I'm not going to start here. I would take the points with the Pirates.
All right, we got one on the underdog. Ian, how you betting it?
I'm totally in agreement with Jeff here. East Carolina. This is not 20 years ago football where you have two bad teams, you look for the team with the good defense. That's not the way I bet now in 2017 football. I need a team that can put a puck in the ocean. I need a team that can put a biscuit in a basket, and a team that can put points and score and move the football in these kind of games where I've got Class C versus Class C or Class D versus Class D teams. And you've got that here with BYU and East Carolina. I don't want the defensive team. I want a team that's got backdoor potential, especially in an underdog role, which East Carolina does. I know their defense is not good, but can we trust BYU to exploit them? With how miserable their offense has been, with no cohesion or chemistry with the quarterback, Tanner Mangum, and the offensive coordinator, Ty Detmer, who has been at the throat of Kalani Sitake, the head coach, all season long. That's a bad relationship going on there all season long between the head coach and the OC. It's dysfunctional on the offensive side of the football with BYU, and I don't see how it gets better. I mean, look at this team's output offensively this year. Look at it. just brutal. I mean, shut out by LSU, 13 against Utah, 6 against Wisconsin, 24 was their highlight against Utah State, 7 against Boise, 10 against Mississippi State. Got outgained by 370 in that game last week. Not a good football team, not one I'm looking to lay points with, especially their offense. And the one thing about ECU, I know they've been crushed. Their only win this season coming against UConn, which isn't saying much, but I like Thomas Sirk, the quarterback, the Duke transfer. He's proven he can move the football. He's proven he can put points on the board. And this BYU defense, week by week, they're wearing down. I mean, this offense is not moving the chains. They're not sustaining drives. Defense is tired out on a weekly basis. Have nothing left in the tank by the time the fourth quarter of these games rolls around. What's not to say that doesn't happen again if BYU can't get anything going on offense here in this game. I'm totally with Jeff here. ECU plus the points. That's the way I'd look.
We got Mario Martinez Jr. saying ECU allows 50 points per game. I do not like that stat. He's chiming in on the live chat right now.
Hey,
Don,
Drew.
are you taking that into account?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm looking at this football game. I do want to lean ECU, but I'm actually going to lean on the over. 58 sounds like a lot when you look at BYU, but say what you want. They did play some sort of murderer's row on defense. I mean, if you're looking at stepping up in competition, stepping down in competition, they're going to feel like they're playing against like those, everybody's been to practice like, hey, the varsity team's going to scrimmage the freshman team today on defense. That's what ECU presents. It's tissue paper on defense. Not to say that, if you look and say, BYU's not going to be able to exploit it. This is a bottom 5 overall defense to me when you watch them play. Now, they did get scorched by UCF and South Florida, which most people do, but, Connecticut dropping 38 on them, Virginia Tech, who's not even a speed-up offense anymore, 64 points where they gave up 17. I think both of these teams are actually looking at this game going, you know what? We're going to, throw hell to the wind. We're going to fake some punts. We're going to throw it deep a lot. And Thomas Sirk and ECU is going to go fast to force that pace. And BYU maybe can take a little bit of a deep breath going, holy cow, like I can actually snap the football, take a 3-step drop, and I'm not getting buried in the backfield. I think we're going to see some points in this one. I think it's going to end up somewhere in the low 60s to mid 60s range.
The interesting point, and I'll kind of come back at this. I mean, you could argue that ECU's played some really good offenses too. I mean, and I hear you on that. I guess the concern for me is what was their excuse against Portland State? I mean, they were dreadful in that game. But I agree with Donnie. I think you're going to see two teams just don't give a fuck. They're just going to do what they want.
You're right, Jeff. Like two teams not going anywhere, two bad defenses, so to speak, where they just say, you know what, two bad teams go at it. Hey, what the hell? It's 4th and 2 at midfield. Let's go for it. You have a lot of that's going to turn up in this game.
If you can't, and this is to the people at BYU, the good people out in Utah, if you can't score against this defense, I don't know what the hell to tell you.
You might as well just abandon the rest of your schedule this year.
You might just get that dance team out there to start breaking off some hits again.
Amazing.
Back to say some prayers at the Mormon hood. I mean, that's it. We're done. Yeah.
This is the toughest game, I think, for the Degenerate Special so far, though, because I could see it going either way. I could see BYU going in and just being like, look, we played Wisconsin and LSU. This defense is a fucking joke. I mean,
Mississippi State, all that.
Yeah, we got Tanner Mangum, I mean, at least. But Circa surprised you. He did some good things, and they get good athletes at ECU at the end of the day. I mean, they've always gotten good athletes. So it's a tough one, Drew. You definitely got us on this one, but I think ECU, it's hard to lay points with BYU.
Yeah, and I said it in the chat that better offense. I just trust the better offense in this kind of point spread range, especially catching points as an underdog. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm going to do here with East Carolina. This is not 20 years ago where the better defense shut down the better offense in a game with bad teams. I find the offense trumps the defense more in 2017 football. That's the way it is now. It's an offensive type of sport.
Yep,
I agree.
Brick City Matthew saying ECU homecoming this weekend. Crowd should be loud.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest crock of shit homecomings in the world. This team sucks. At the end of the day, the crowd was, and I'm not coming at Matthew. I'm just making a point here. The home crowd was loud against South Florida also. I mean, against Va Tech. I mean, at the end of the day, just because Derek Jeter gets his number retired doesn't really affect the team too much. The crowds, again,
Jeff, you can use the same adage. They're getting their rings tonight. They're going to raise the banner. No way they lose.
Now, I'll tell you this. For me, and of course, someone retracts with, you bet Purdue at homecoming. Right, because at that school, they hadn't had football relevant in about 10 years. It was a huge game, and
Yeah, but I don't
For
think
me,
homecoming meant even anything in that game. It was you're playing Michigan. You're going to sell that house out
It was
regardless.
a huge game. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with a team like Eastern Carolina, I mean, you're playing another bad football team. Homecoming doesn't mean much.
Homecoming means an extra 250 people in the stands.
And homecoming means maybe I'll get laid by my girlfriend tonight, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. And Wilton Spate got injured in that game, and if he doesn't get it, and if he doesn't get injured, stays in that game, Purdue might have won it.
And Purdue,
really
if you
John
remember,
O'Korn sparking them in that game for that win, yeah.
Right, and if you remember, I mean, coming into that game, Purdue, even into that game, played well in the first half, and they were right in that football game. O'Korn just kind of hit big in the second half.
What a moneymaker, that Purdue team this year. Great job, Jeff Brom. Another cover against Wisconsin last week. Wisconsin never really got far enough ahead that they really threatened that, 17-point chalk that they were in that game. Another point spread cover for Purdue. They're just hanging around in these games.
Did you see our boy Kyle chimed in on the live chat? He was homecoming king. Kyle, is that true?
Bullshit.
You were homecoming king? That's pretty sweet if that's true. Anyway, guys, yeah, I'll make it, I guess, 3 out of 4 on ECU plus 5.5. So I guess that will be the way we're going in the degenerate special, going on the Pirates.
All right.
Love it.
All right, guys, let's break down one more game and then best bets. We got to go kind of quick here. We got a real good one. I know big man, hell, all of us will like it. UCF, the undefeated ATS team, going against the Naval Academy. Looks like we got minus 7.5, almost across the board, 66 the total. Ian, you want to start us off? How you betting this one?
It's a really, really interesting game here. It's one I'll be interested to watch for sure. Two really, really good football teams. And, UCF to me, this is a really hard team to go against. As much as I like Navy, I mean, what Central Florida has been able to do this season has been remarkable. Scott Frost has got this offense humming. He's got his quarterback in there, Mackenzie Milton, who's really, really showing how comfortable he is. He's a dual threat, can throw the ball as well as run it. The defense has been good enough so far, but really it's the development of this team on the offensive side of the football that I've been most impressed with. There's no denying that. The question is now, are they ready in this kind of price range to get the job done? We're talking about laying just north of a touchdown here, Central Florida in this football game. And Navy's a tough team to go against when they're catching this many points. They're not going to beat themselves often, as Jeff alludes to, in terms of penalties. Rarely, actually, there was one game I saw they got a little silly with penalties, Navy, but outside of that, it's been a rarity with them. The question is, are they going to get worn down by this pace and this tempo that UCF plays with? It's an undermanned, undersized team on the defensive side of the football. That's going to be my greatest concern with the midshipmen going into this football game. But as much as I want to take points at any occasion here, with Navy in this kind of price range, Central Florida is just a runaway train right now, playing phenomenal football, covering point spreads left and right, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 ATS run coming into this game. They've outgained every single opponent these last 5 games, UCF, by 124 yards or more, dominating the stat sheet. Not a team I can go against right now. So I'm going to stay away from the side. Maybe I'll make a case for the over. I do think this is a higher scoring game. Over is probably my favorite play in this one.
All right, Ian, I got to correct myself. I said 7.5 almost across the board. Looking at the SBR odds screen right now, we actually have it as low as -7, minus 105 at Heritage. But big man, how are you betting this one?
You're not going to get an argument from me. UCF has won every game by 27 or more points. They're scoring over 50 points a game, as Ian alluded to. It's really difficult to step in front of them. I mean, they have an absolutely fantastic pass offense, and I'm not sure there's anyone that watches Navy more than I do. I've seen a team that has trouble against the pass. But I will say this. I think this is the best team that UCF is going to see so far, or has seen. Can they get ready to play against an attack like this fast? I saw yesterday, Scott Frost was the quarterback in the practice squad offense. He was basically Zach Abey, which was interesting. I've never seen that before. I wonder, they're a great run defense, but this is a different kind of rush offense. This is not your typical, run the ball up the middle. This game is going to come down to, will Zach Abey not turn the football over? He's had a problem with doing that. And guys, for me, it's so tough to bet against the Naval Academy. They've lost one time in the last 3 years at home. They're 15-1. UCF is going to hit a falling knife at some point. They're going to lose at some point, I would imagine, or have a tough football game. Would it surprise me if it's Navy? No. But am I going to bet against UCF? Not at this point. I don't bet against Navy. I'm probably not going to do it here. I'm probably just going to stay away from it. But if you like Navy, I have a hankering to just take them to win the game. I think they're a team that will surprise you. And I want to relate this. I mentioned last night. I remember last year, there was a certain Houston team in the same spot, went into Navy and got their ass kicked in that game. They were undefeated. Navy came in and hit them like a pile of bricks. Don't be surprised if it happens again. Niumatalolo, we've talked about. I think he's one of the more unsung coaches in the country. He'll have them prepared in this game. The question is, will Zach Abey not turn the football over?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, big man. I mean, it is tough to go against UCF. They just keep killing the odds makers. But Navy at the same time with that profile. But Donnie, what about the profile of the mobile passer who's pretty damn good, Mackenzie Milton, going up against this Navy pass defense? I mean, I could see UCF putting up some serious points.
No, you're right. I mean, Tulsa, for say what you will, 31-21, that Navy was a little bit sluggish in that game. Navy should have lost to Air Force, which Air Force isn't a very good football team. Last week versus Memphis, actually got beat in that game as well. This is a clear step up in class. I mean, you're talking about teams where, they beat Cincinnati 42-32. I'm talking from a Navy perspective. I like teams right now because you're trying to find a chink in the arm in UCF, and they give you nothing. Every single time they've stepped up on the field, they've blown the other team out. The one thing that's going to be interesting, I mean, look at the stats. I mean, Air Force, they have a quarterback that throws a shot put back there, and they have a similar offense to Navy. They run for 340 on the ground and pass for 281 in the air. Air Force threw for 281 yards versus Navy. Memphis last week threw for 279. If you look at the game last week, which they lost to Memphis, and you want to say, okay, well, I don't even want to match up and say, well, what did UCF do to Memphis? I mean, they absolutely destroyed that football team. But what you want to take away from that game is you're going to get a Memphis offense going versus Navy, which UCF has. But you're going to get one of the best defenses outside the Power 5 that's going to line up on the opposite side of the ball. Like when you look at Memphis, the key to Navy in that game, say, well, maybe if we just slow the offense down, we can score at will on Memphis's defense. You can't do that versus UCF. They're faster and stronger than you are with the same caliber firepower on the offensive side of the ball. To me, I mean, when you see the opening number open up at 7, that gives you pause because it's very rare to see Navy getting any points at home. Sometimes even in that conference getting points at all other than 3 points. This is UCF or nothing for me. This team just is a really bad matchup to go up against Navy, a defense that can hold you down and an offense that's going to put up 50 against Navy. So to me, honestly, for Navy to hang around this football game, Navy needs 40 points against UCF's defense. Not going to happen.
And they got to take the football away.
Absolutely. It's not going to happen.
Why? Why is it not going to happen?
I mean, look at the teams. I mean, if you're like Memphis out there rips everybody on offense. Memphis kills everybody. They embarrassed Memphis.
Okay, other than that, what rush defense did they face to this caliber?
Who's rush? What do you mean? From what side?
The same profile, big man. They did face Maryland when Maryland had that high recruited backup quarterback still playing.
Listen, man, I'm just saying they don't lose very often at home. They're a tough offense to prepare for. This is not your typical run offense. They're going to score points in this game.
It's a conflicting arguments game. That's why it's a great game to break down, why it's going to be a good game to watch. I mean, there is a case to take 7 with Navy on a home field where they've been good. But the thing with UCF is the odds makers just haven't been off with this team. They have been way off with this team. We are talking about a team in their last 5 games, UCF. They've shattered the number by bang on the century mark. 100 points they have crushed the point spread by in these last 5 games combined. So they're beating the spread by an average of 20 points per game in these last 5 games. So they haven't even been close, the odds makers, to pricing UCF correctly. And until I see that they have, I can't step in their way.
Looking from a Navy perspective, they're like, I want to see that game where they just said, we're just going to clown you 46-10, like sometimes they've done in the past. I mean, unimpressive. I mean, Tulane's a good football team. Unimpressive 23-21, came down to a fourth quarter, 4th and 1 stop. Cincinnati, who's terrible, you beat them by 10. Tulsa's embarrassing, you beat them by 10. Air Force, not a good football team, 48-45, and then you lose to Memphis. So I don't see the pedigree in there, whereas you're looking just overall at UCF steps on the football field and just eviscerates you. Looks like Navy's playing down to their competition and just hanging on. This isn't one of those games where, I hope Navy just stays close. If you're going to go into a UCF football game and say, I want to stay close, they're going to bury you by halftime.
Would it shock me if Navy wins and covers and wins this game outright? No, it absolutely wouldn't, but doesn't mean I want to bet it.
I heard the same stuff being talked last year when Houston went in there. Same kind of quarterback, same situation.
I think Navy was a better football team last year, though, as well, though. Like, I don't think that, like,
wasn't that a Thursday night game? It was, though. That was an isolated game too. National television during the week on.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good program. They're gonna score some points, but my breaking point in this game for what I need Navy to cover with and maybe win is 40. And I don't see Navy getting the 40 versus this team. I just don't.
But do you guys think you guys just think they're still UCF? What do you think? They're going to win by 40 points?
No, I mean, what do you mean still UCF? Yeah, like, are we looking like under George O'Leary 10 years ago?
They're UCF. They're not Alabama. You guys make them out to be Alabama.
But they're not the 0-11 team of 2 years ago either.
Yeah. Okay, Drew, it's clear you love UCF. You've made that point many times.
But from your point of view, Jeff, why don't we just put Keenan Reynolds back for Navy and say they're Navy again and Keenan Reynolds?
That's the problem, and that's my concern here.
But Drew can counter with. It's clear you love the military,
no, it's
the
not
service academy.
No. Let's rephrase that. I respect what they do as programs. That's what I said, and they've made a ton of money for you. I don't know why you shouldn't like them. That's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's disputing Navy as not being a good football team, and can they win the football game? I think so, but just looking at the overall games coming in, like, there's no chink in the armor for UCF. We say, you know what? I think Navy can really abuse this. UCF has embarrassed everybody, and that's hard to, try to cap against or go against. So let's just mean the ultimate contrarian and be like, this is the spot they're going to get beat right here. But looking from a Navy perspective, I would have loved it if Navy went and beat Memphis, but 45-20. They're like, okay, they can get in that type of ball game, but they haven't shown me enough where they can say against a team that's going to bring the best defense I've seen so far and the best offense at the same time.
But Donnie, they just lost their first game to Memphis.
But they lost, correct?
Okay, but what I'm saying, you make Navy out to be like they're 3-2 or 2-3.
Yeah, but no, I'm not making. And also, you want to take a look at breaks, Jeff. I mean, last week, if Memphis doesn't fumble the ball, that game might end up 37-17. Does that change your theory on that?
But they didn't, Donnie. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. Yes, but you're saying the same thing. You're using. No,
I'm making a point of you act like Navy's some shit team. I mean, wake up, Donnie. I mean, they're 4-1, 5-1.
Hold on. I just preface it by saying Navy's a really good football team, and can they win this football game? Maybe they have a shot at it, but nobody's saying no. The whole point is you're looking at one team clearly better than the other team and making a case for Navy to win the football game.
I'm going against all you. Give me Navy plus 7.5. Give me it.
There's that homer. There's that homer. There it is. We got to get it. Somebody. Somebody tweet that tape right now. We've got another homer pick here.
Yeah, another homer pick.
Okay, here's Navy against common opponents. Here we go. Navy 42-32 against Cincinnati. Navy loses 30-27 to Memphis. How did UCF do against those teams? 40-13 against Memphis and 51-23 on the road at Cincinnati. So if you're using common opponents, there's your UCF edge there in that regard. But hey, Navy is getting this many points, rarely if ever, and there is an argument to be made, and we wish Jeff luck with his argument.
We'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah.
Not like the Naval Academy at home on a Saturday.
This one's going to be fun to watch. Big Drew,
Drew,
I've had a lot of fun nights there.
Let's hear your comeback.
I will say they're 5-0 ATS. I've made a little money on them, so why shouldn't I love them?
Yeah, well, you've made a comment many times about UCF. You should just come out and say you like them. It's clear.
I do love them. But yeah, my cousin goes there. That's kind of
there we go. You have a connection. I had a figure.
Hey, well, let's throw another question out there that you might not like. If UCF runs the table, beats USF on November 24th, do they have a playoff argument or no?
Who, UCF?
Yeah. Well, I know your answer. What about Donnie or Ian?
Actually, you know what? If they go undefeated, they really
might. American Athletic Conference. Stop. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but if they run so many teams have lost. Usually in a normal year, that wouldn't be the case because you would have 10 teams in the top 10, 9 of them still unbeaten.
Why were we talking about USF getting a playoff then at the beginning of the season? If we're not now talking about UCF if they run the table, that's the thing.
And it's topsy-turvy because, I mean, Miami's going to lose somewhere coming up. You're going to have a lot of teams with 1-2 losses trying to chime in, and they always try to fight that good fight for the little man. But you never know. I mean, you never know. A lot of teams are taking losses that you didn't think were going to lose at this point.
So FIU, Maryland, Maine got canceled. Georgia Tech got canceled. You beat Memphis, beat Cincinnati, East Carolina. I guess the big wins coming up, you beat Austin Peay. That's tough. Connecticut, dreadful. East Carolina, dreadful. Come on, guys. Top 4? Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah, what happens if the fourth team has 2 losses, though, or, top 5 has two losses? It'll be interesting debate.
That's what opens the door for a non-Power 5 undefeated. That's what would open the door. And UCF's in the discussion if they run the table at least.
And it's too bad there's no other. I mean, there's not even any good, that great group of 5 teams at this point. They all have flaws. San Diego State lost. South Florida lost. Navy lost. I mean, come on. Are you guys absolutely – are you serious?
San Diego State might lose again this Saturday, to be honest. Yeah.
As a top 4 team, UC – are you kidding me here? Am I nuts to think this? This is amazing we're having this conversation.
Well, I mean, if you're the team you're making an argument against,
we were talking about USF
though,
before the season. South Florida, people are going wild before the season. South Florida with a chance to be if they go undefeated.
No one said could they be a group of 5 team as the 5th team? Sure, on a New Year's Day Bowl, yes. But is that a top 4 team? You got to
Let's make the push. We got to make the push. Scott Frost's going to get him in there now.
Scott Frost should make a push and move to a better program. Well,
the thing is, what's UCF going to do without him? Because he's living on borrowed time there. Someone's scooping him up. He's going somewhere else within the next year or 2. He's going to be good as gone. And what will UCF be at that point is the big question.
Jeff, can you see it? November 24th, UCF meeting up with UCF. The winner is going to go to the into the playoff. There you go, man.
Listen, you're not going to get an argument from me. They're not the best team in the American right now. I will not argue with you there. But to say they can make a top 4, come on. Bollocks. Come on.
I love it, big man. Good stuff, man. Hey, guys, let's do best bets real quick.
That's what this roundtable's for, Drew.
That's what's great. That's great stuff. I wouldn't trade that last 10 minutes for anything in the world. That's awesome stuff we just did right there. Everybody, way to go. Passion and your conviction. That's all we ask for.
Sure.
Yep.
Ian, start us off, man. What's your best bet this week?
Hey, it worked last week. I'm doing it again this week. Tom Herman is an underdog. Why not? Why the hell not? Covered last week against Oklahoma, and I'm doing it again. We're talking about a guy that Ohio State offensive coordinator, Houston head coach, Texas head coach since 2014. Yeah, only 13-0 against the spread as an underdog. Only 11-2 straight up in those games, winning 11 of those 13 games as a dog in outright fashion. Oklahoma State's a great team, great offense. I understand that, but they're going into Texas here. Texas defense is leaps and bounds better now than it was early in the season, and TCU showed against Oklahoma State earlier this season, you could throw some things at Mason Rudolph that can confound this offense a little bit, even for as explosive as they are and as lethal as they can be. Texas just too good in this role. Worked for me last week. Give me Texas +7, best bet.
Texas +7. What book is that at?
Let me just quickly bring that up. Hold on. 5 Dimes.
All right. Got Texas +7 at 5 Dimes for Ian. Donnie, what about you, man?
I'm going to go with Monday Night Football. We're going to go 477, 478, and we're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in this spot. Only -4.5, kind of shocking to me. I know, you're trying to build a case for, NFC East football is always going to be close. I think the Eagles are in a really good spot in this situation. Just heading off, you get the extra little time off that mini bye. You're going to get Lane Johnson back. You're going to get Jordan Hicks back in the middle. So Eagles are going to come in this game a little bit fresher. Wendell Smallwood to try to freshen up that backfield. Carson Wentz is playing really good football. You had a Washington Redskins team struggle. I mean, really struggle against C.J. Beathard and the 49ers, and I might add to say the banged-up 49ers in that game. Now you're going to come into here. You're going to try to play in Philadelphia. It looks like Josh Norman's probably going to miss the game. Rashard Breeland is doubtful to start this football game, and your best defensive lineman outside of Kerrigan, who's able to push the pocket and allow Kerrigan to rush on the edge, Jonathan Allen, looks like he is going to as well for the Washington Redskins. I think the Eagles are in a great spot. No reason to believe that there's going to be a lot of points in this game, so that spread should be a little bit easier to cover. Eagles by a touchdown plus in this football game for me on Monday Night Football. That'll be my best bet. You can get that line right now, Bet Online, -4.5 right now. I'll go with that as my best bet of the week for Monday Night Football.
All right, Donnie on the Philadelphia Eagles -4.5. Big man, what about you, man?
Yeah, I got one coming up here about 51 minutes away. Champions League. I'm going to go Manchester United today on the road at Benfica. Benfica struggled in this competition. They just got absolutely worked by Basel, FC Basel 5-0. Man United at this point is really in the Premier League, in the Champions League, they've just gotten zero respect from books. I mean, they continue to price United at these odd prices. United with the best defense of the Premier League. I think that translates over here. You got Romelu Lukaku to come in and score goals late in the game. I think this would be a lower scoring game, but I like United. I'm a big Mourinho guy in these kind of games. He defends well. Lisbon, but Benfica Lisbon won't score. I think United gets the job done 1 or 2-0. United really needs to keep pace in this competition. Manchester City is the best team in the world, if you ask me. It's time for United to get a big win here in the Champions League. I think they do it on the road here. All you got to do is lay 108 at Heritage. I'll go with United. They get a goal here and get the win against a bad, struggling Benfica team that right now is on their way out of this competition. Give me United. Manchester United minus 108.
And big man, for the people that may not like bet soccer a lot, is that minus 108 like money line? Is
all they have to, if they win, you win. If they draw, you lose. If they lose, you lose. They have to win the game. It's in the Champions League for anyone looking for it.
Okay, Man U minus 108 for big man. And in honor of big man on campus, I will go with the UCF Golden Knights. Was going to go with UAB, but got to go with the Golden Knights. -7 can get them reduced juice at Heritage right now, minus 105. So go Knights, guys. Hey, great show. Anything else before we close it down?
Yeah, one quick thing here coming up, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, we're going to make another quarterback change this week. We're going to get it together. The best part about this, folks, once again, the Sharps will be on Cleveland this week. So let's get
I love it.
ready and go right against Cleveland anytime they take the field and their baseball front office. But once again, they're making a quarterback change again.
It's because the number crunchers say Cleveland, Cleveland. Oh, all these little analytics and all these numbers that the people use, and these sharps are just pile on that. The numbers, the numbers, the numbers. No, not the numbers. It's not a team that's covering numbers. They're just flat out bad right now.
Catch me up next, 3 minutes away. Premier League Punters. I'll be on there for another show. Join me on that with the guys.
That's right. And NHL Ice Guys for me Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. All you got to do is wake up, watch the show, and because we're 15-5 now with best bets on the show, 15-5. All you got to do to be in on that is just watch the show. That's totally free. Get in on that. We're doing great with the best bets, the hockey show, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern.
All right, good stuff, guys. We'll be back next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific with the Roundtable. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up, a like on your screen, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.